I see many familiar faces here. So, electrocardiogram, ECG or EKG, is the most frequently used test for the heart. The third most commonly ordered test in the hospital. Globally, over 3 million ECG tests are done every year. It is a $10 billion business. It is also a very old test, over 100 years old. So, big market, old technology, old practice. You might be thinking, this is a perfect setup for disruption. And you'll be right. Disrupting the ECG industry is exactly what we do at QD Medical. QD Medical was founded in 2013 as a spin-off of BioMed. Our focus is on ECG, and we aim to become the technology and market leader in the industry. Now, take a look at this ECG. I swear that I didn't pull this out of the museum. I borrowed from our cardiology practice. So it's a big machine, long cables, and weighs 60 pounds. Now this is the ECG system you have not seen before. QD ECG. It fits in your pocket, no cables, weighs 60 grams. QD ECG is the world's most compact target ECG system. That is wireless, digital, high-quality signals that operates on mobile devices and manages in the cloud. Those are great features. But you might be thinking, these are incremental improvements. These are not disruptional. Then you're right again. The disruptions I'm talking about come from our electrodes, which brings fundamental changes to how ECG tests are done and where ECG tests are done. Medical standards for target ECG were set over 70 years ago. To do a test, you need to put 10 electrodes on specific locations on the body, and then match each electrode with specific cables. And this process, to get everything right, can take a while. Therefore, high efficiency could be a concern, especially in a medical emergency situation. There's only one way to do an ECG right, or literally 3.6 million ways to do it wrong. So accuracy could be a problem. Finally, every time when you go to the hospital to get a target ECG, you get a different technician, or even if it's the same technician at different times, you end up having some differences in the electrode placement. So consistency is a problem, especially if you're the cardiologist reading the ECG and you see subtle changes on the ECG. You cannot be sure these subtle changes are due to variations in these placement or they are true clinical changes. So these problems will all be solved with a new way of doing a target ECG, the QD ECG. It's simplified and standardized. There's only one way, the correct way to connect. And there's only one way, the consistent way to place. We can bring the error rate down from 3% to 0. And when you read the ECG, you can always trust that the electrode placement will be consistent. Therefore, cardiologists can tell if these subtle changes are clinically significant or not. Our ECG brings the most value to places where efficiency and accuracy are of vital importance, such as the emergency room. It is also perfect for pediatric use. Look at this. If this were your baby, would you rather have an ECG done this way or this way? Look how happy this baby was during the test. He was holding the ECG recorder for us. So not only our QD ECG system will disrupt how ECG tests are done, it will disrupt where the tests are done. Target ECG to this day is only available in hospitals and doctors' offices. The reason is you need a highly trained, experienced technician to run the test. Not anymore. With a QT ECG system, patients with no training can do a full target ECG at home. And we have proven that. In a randomized controlled clinical trial, we found that 96% of parents can do a 12 ECG on their own newborn baby based on one-page simple instructions. We're now entering into an era when patients can do a full hospital quality 12 ECG all in the comfort and convenience of their homes. This is our US office in Torrance, right across the street from LA BioMed, in a strip mall called the Fabrica Plaza. This is our US team. And that's our Taiwan office on a high-rise building located on the beautifully Trinidad Boulevard in the heart of the Taipei City. And that's our Taiwan team. We licensed the technology from LA BioMed, which includes 3 issued patents and 3 pending patents. Our R&D team in Taipei continue working diligently to generate new technology. This is our management team. I'm the CEO, 20 years as a cardiologist and professor at UCLA, also chief of pediatric cardiology at Harvard UCLA. Our CTO is sitting in the audience. He is a professor of engineering at UC Irvine, an expert in embedded microelectronic system. That's how we got started. And CTO Peter is MBA from Boston University with 20 years of experience in the financial industry. We presented at last year's BioMed Showcase, and since then we have achieved major milestones, and just to name a few. The clinical trial of non-QT syndrome screening in newborn babies that was completed in December enrolled a total of 2,600 babies, and we're still analyzing the results, but this is a major achievement we're very proud of. And our first product, QT ECG, was submitted to FDA as a 510(k) in September, with two meetings with the FDA. We're still working on clinical trial results. We expect that the 510(k) will be clear in Q3 this year. We've been to 3 big trade shows and 2 professional medical meetings last year. In the medical meeting, we met with 200 pediatricians and 250 cardiologists. Many of them are true experts and key opinion leaders and received great feedback. And through the trade shows, we're now connected with 170 distributors from 40 countries. We also expanded our product line to home-use ECG and pro-use ECG. The home-use ECG initial target will be patients who are high risk, such as patients who just had a coronary bypass or have coronary stent. The risk of having a second heart attack in the following 6 months is as high as 20%. So these are treated patients who can benefit having a 12 ECG every time they feel some chest discomfort. The professional use ECG initial target will be to nursing homes. You might not know this, there are 16,000 nursing homes, 1.7 million senior Americans living in nursing homes. And the way that we do 12 ECG have not changed for 3 decades. There's still ECG on paper, fax to a cardiologist to read, and the signal quality is terrible, and the whole process takes a whole day. I think we're ready to disrupt that. In 2017, we'll be very busy. We have goals and milestones set. First one, to name a few, ISO 13485 certification. That's already in progress. We expect to be certified in the summer. And QT ECG launch, which will be Q3 to Q4 this year. Initially, the target will be the home use high-risk patients such as after CABG or stent. And QT Pro launch will be towards Q4 and early next year to the nursing home market. We're also in parallel working on CE mark to get ready for the international launch of our product. On the financing side, we're initially funded by NIH, phase 1 and phase 2, total of $2.2 million. We raised a seed round in 2015, and now we're ready for a Series A. We welcome VC and accredited investors to join us in our Series A round. We'll also submit an NIH phase 2B in June for additional $3 million funding from NIH. QPECG brings the most value to emergency room, where 1/3 of hospital ECG tests are done. Also, there's a pre-hospital ECG market. Since 2008, paramedics are required to do 12 ECG on the scene in patient's home when heart attack are suspected. So just take a look at this. When you have a patient at home with heart attack, paramedics have to bring big setup, put it over, and let the patient down, connect the cable. This is a big task to do, and at that time that's spent on this can take as long as 5 minutes in the delay, which could be a big problem. And not to say that many mistakes and errors can happen in the process. Just try to, let's use QPECG in this case, pay attention to that. The big setup is gone. iPad is already connected to the cloud, and the electrode placement takes 30 seconds. It's all trouble-free. If you didn't see that clearly, let's put it side by side, and you can see the difference. Now the home ECG market, which doesn't exist at this time. Just think about glucometers. 30 years ago, we wouldn't have treated this way. Now every diabetic patient has a glucometer at home to help them to manage a blood sugar problem. Why shouldn't every heart disease patient have a 12 ECG to help them to manage their heart disease? So we believe that next 10 years, every patient who just had a coronary bypass, had a coronary stent, a chronic heart failure or arrhythmia, that's 10 million Americans. They should all get a 12 ECG to help them to manage their heart disease. 10 years ago, I had this dream that I wanted to make a 12 ECG for newborn babies. And we did that. We made the world's smallest 12 ECG that's totally baby friendly. Then the dream got bigger, more ambitious. Now the dream is we want to totally change the way that 12 ECG tests have been done in the last 100 years. That's a big dream, isn't it? If that's not big enough, another dream we have is we want to bring 12 ECG to 10 million homes in America. If you're looking for technologies that will benefit millions of patients, save lives, make a difference, and bring high return to your investment, this is a project for you. If you're excited about technology and market opportunity, I'd like to invite you to an investor seminar next Tuesday. I'm hosting at QD Medical Office. We left some of the invitation cards on the table. If you don't, you can come find me throughout the rest of the conference. You can follow QT Medical on the web at qtmedical.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And finally, to conclude my presentation, I'd like to show you my it's coming up. 20 ECG, live streaming. I'm actually wearing the ECG here, you can see the light. And I think we have very strong Bluetooth connection, so I'm going to do something I've not done before. I'm going to walk away from the iPad, and let's test how far away I can walk without losing the connection. So I'm going to walk this way. Are we still connected? Yeah. We're still connected. You're being excited? All right, I lied. I actually tried this before. I could walk to the parking lot and still be connected. So I'll take your questions from the parking lot. During our clinical trial, 2,600 babies, the aim was to look for long QT syndrome syndrome, which is a genetic disease that can cause sudden death. So we're still analyzing the data, but throughout the course, we did find other heart disease in the babies, which could be clinically significant. All these babies being referred to cardiology for follow-up. That included one baby with a large hole in the heart, BSD, that led to heart failure. Two babies with PDA, and some babies with other kind of arrhythmia. So the debate for whether to screen all two babies for heart disease is still ongoing, especially on lung QT disease. So my personal belief is that in addition to lung QT, of course, there are many other heart diseases can be screened. And that just 4 years ago, Department of Health and Human Services decided to add pulse oximetry into the screening. In fact, I would think that ECG would be my choice, would be much more sensitive in picking up heart disease. Right. So if it's just for screening as an anatomical disease, 10 seconds as a regular hospital probably ECG will be adequate. Unless you're suspecting intermittent arrhythmia, that you will need prolonged monitoring. Otherwise, a regular 10 second ECG will be adequate. Genetic instability. Oh. Right. So in the clinical trial, 2,600 babies we completed. There's one baby we found that could be a lung QT syndrome. We're still investigating whether that particular mutation could be disease causing. Lung QT syndrome is a disease that was a prevalence of 1 in 2,000. So we did 2,600, which is just about right to pick up a lung QT syndrome. And lung QT syndrome, if it's missed, it could cause sudden death. It's a pretty well-known cause for SIDS now. So it would be a disease that if you pick up in time and get it properly treated, SIDS can be prevented. So that's also in addition to what we're doing into the adult medicine area. My specialty is actually pediatric cardiology type. My personal interest will be continue pursuing lung QT screening. Yes. Right, great question. So for home users, actually, even though we expect home users can view the test, we don't expect them to be able to interpret the test. That would not be possible. The interpretation will still be up to professionals. So anybody who gets a home quality ECG will have to be linked to a physician, hopefully will be his or her cardiologist, to every time this patient uploads something, will be the cardiologist to read it. Do we develop any algorithm to have a computer interpretation? The medical standard right now is still professional interpretation by physicians. So computer can suggest certain findings but cannot replace human reading. We are developing an algorithm which is not to give a diagnosis but to give you a comparison with your previous ECG to tell you where the changes are. So more important to you is not to compare your ECG with a million other ECG that we call normal. It's actually to compare with your ECG from 3 weeks ago when you don't have the symptom. That's much more informative. So we developed an algorithm to compare with your own ECG when you're not sick and tell you what the changes are and how urgent those are in the findings.